Ladies and gentlemen, we do thank you very much for your attention, and now we invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the
Welcome to our top travel destinations. I am your host, Kevin Flanagan. I have been editor of the weekly travel news column in the Sunday Independent and the Fine Wine and Food Guide, and I am here to use my decades of experience to help you know exactly where to stay, eat, drink, shop, and explore when visiting the world's top travel destinations. So sit back and enjoy the wonders of travel as we take off on our magical journey together. Welcome to Kevin's Top Travel Destinations. In this episode, I'm going to talk about my favorite travel destination because people often ask me, they always say when they discover that this is what I do for a living, they say, "Where's your favorite destination, Kevin? You've traveled all around the world." And I'm pretty sure they usually expect something like Venice or Paris or London or the Himalayas or Bali. But actually, I surprise most people because I say, without any shadow of a doubt, Hiroshima. And I think most people associate their favorite places with beautiful places. When you start talking about Hiroshima, which actually is also beautiful, but you talk about places like the killing fields in Cambodia or Auschwitz, they start looking at you as if, oh, why is he interested in all that sort of stuff? So I thought I'd explain why Hiroshima. If anybody asked me where they should go, I would say go there rather than anywhere else. And there's a few reasons for that. Hiroshima is so different. Firstly, in order to get to Hiroshima, you have to go to Japan. Now, Japan, you should not, if you have any sort of resources and any sort of freedom, you should travel before you exit this life. You should definitely visit Japan. Having visited many places around the world, it is so completely unique. It's wrapped up in their history. Now the Second World War came. Hiroshima suffered this catastrophic blow when the first atom bomb was dropped on it. And this led to 80 plus years now of peace. Japan has been demilitarized. And it's very interesting. When I was in Tokyo the first night, we went to this bar, had a meal, and I started to talk to two very trendy, they're strange people. They are from a Irish, English, European perspective. They're so different. And very few speak English. That's part of this sort of inward-looking culture. But what this guy did say, I said, if China starts taking over islands around you, would you think you're going to fight them? And they say, no, we don't want to go back to military. We had the military, and it's almost like they've been weaned off that militariness. But if you really want to get a sense of what Japan went through and what we could possibly go through ourselves, then you must visit Hiroshima. And as I mentioned, Auschwitz, the battlefields these are all Vietnam, where you've got so much of history that's still alive, really. But the really extraordinary thing about Hiroshima is all of those are in the past. The killing fields is done. Auschwitz is done. It could happen again, yes, but it's quite specific in its geography and its locality. Hiroshima is our future possibility. It doesn't feel finished. It feels like something that could happen again. I'd really reference Oppenheimer for this and the movie. You have the Trinity test, you have the first bomb being tested. It goes off with this incredible, they're 20 miles away and they're blown off their feet. Can you imagine that? And this is now a firecracker compared to nuclear arsenals that are contained around the world, which would literally wipe out whole vast urban areas, reduce it to just smoldering rubble. But the thing about the movie Oppenheimer, it gives you this understanding of how the bomb came into existence. But then you do see this extraordinary scene where Big Boy and Little Man, or Fat Man and Little Boy, or the weird names they gave them, for God knows why, they trundle off on the back of this military lorry. And Oppenheimer is anxious. These are his babies, if you like, very diabolical babies, but they're babies nevertheless. And he's wondering, oh my God, what's going to happen? And one of the military says, listen, doctor, I'm not trying to be rude here, but you're out of the equation now. You built it. We're going to deliver it. And you go to Hiroshima, and this is where they delivered it. And I can tell you, it is really, I have never felt anything like arriving in Hiroshima from Tokyo on the bullet train, an experience in itself. And I couldn't walk quick enough to the Peace Park, as it now is in Hiroshima, where the bomb went off. And I knew something was going to twig in me, and I knew this is where travel has this gift. But I walked to the epicenter. I walked to the original ground zero. And you stand there in this Peace Park, and you stand there next to the domed building, the only building because it was built to resist earthquakes. And it managed to somehow, it was right underneath the epicenter. And I took my mind back to August the 6th, and it was a working day, and it was 8:15 a.m. in the morning, Hiroshima, where school kids going to school and workers. A few soldiers, but not really a lot. And then they saw a little silver streak of the bomber going overhead. And then 90 seconds later, at 600 meters, with no warning, the atom bomb exploded. And it generated a heat. And you stand there and you look up and you just recreate it in your head. The heat that's the same heat as the sun, the surface of the sun. It actually turned a famous, infamous lunchbox of a little girl that was there. The vegetables in it, you can still see it in the museum. It's turned into charcoal. 70,000 souls just disappeared. He just broke down and he had to go and try to help. And there were a dozen kids, and all the skin had been taken off them. And they were just standing there. They were still alive, and they didn't have very long to live. But the most extraordinary thing is the recovery of the city. People, it's so funny. People say, is it still bombed out? Is it still full of radiation? We've no idea. That's why travel's so important, is to break down these sort of mad, idiot misconceptions that we have. No, it's not radioactive. No, it's been completely transformed into a modern, vibrant Japanese city. There's cafes, trams, parks, some great whiskey bars, but it's there. And at night, you can go down to this UNESCO World Heritage Site, the epicenter. It's huge. It's like the size of a huge park. You couldn't see from one end to the other. And this is where the main damage was done. And the dome is at the center, that famous photo of this building, which has just managed to survive because it was earthquake-proof. And you go there at night, and it was strange. I was there with my friend Diamond, and he couldn't deal with it because it was like this imprint of the 70,000 souls that just vanished. It's there. You could actually feel it. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons I learned, was seeing that this could be our future. I would love every leader. I would love everybody to go and see what we can do to one another. And this is about the future, because with AI and all these other things, it could happen again. And I think just being informed is so important. Nuclear weapons still exist, the lessons of Hiroshima, and the fact it's recovered. So for me, that's why it's so staggering. I still can't get over living a life I love and having grandkids I love and a family and friends. And these kids on the bridge, the same age as my grandkids, like the crucifixion, like it was the worst of the worst. And that can happen. But then we can turn a leaf and we can rebuild. And it's a beautiful, vibrant city with lots of happy kids in it. And it changed me going there. And what more could you ask from travel?